What does MAGA, MAGA, mean to me? Well, I will say that I believe that pretty much all the Democratic incumbent candidates, any of them that are currently in office, need to be kicked out of office. If they weren't primaried out, they should have been. So they don't deserve to win, and here's why. Here's what MAGA means to me. Number one, a fix to the public education system. Right now, it's abysmal. All you have to do is look at the economy to see that. All you have to do is look at the amount of kids, students, who can't read past a fifth grade reading level and write at a past a fifth grade reading level. It's just, how does this happen? Now, I'm not going to blame the teachers. Parents are a lot at fault in this case, but we should not be passing kids to the next grade if they can't know, if they don't know the basics. It's really that simple. And I really think smartphones, tablets, etc., partially has to do with that. Because I can tell you, like when I was a kid, I would read these video game magazines. So I was learning how to read and write at a higher level and how to do it properly. If somebody's sending acronyms and all this other stuff through text message to these kids and words are being misspelled and they don't even know the words are being misspelled, it's a problem, you know? So that's number one. Education is very important. Okay, it's very, very important, and it needs. The other thing that we need to do besides the basics is I really believe that high schoolers' time is being wasted. I believe that ideally, people who are in high school and then graduate from high school would genuinely earn a high school degree, diploma. They shouldn't have to go to college, and I know that that sounds a little far fetched to a lot of people, but like I truly believe that could happen. Of course, the problem is you can't force a horse to drink. You can't force a student to learn. You can do your best, but if there's constant distractions in the classroom that for whatever reason can't be addressed, it's a problem. Hey, I was in there as a substitute teacher twice. Actually, three times if you count the few days that I went back in 2014, but I couldn't handle it. I was ready to scream at these kids. So I'm like, you know what? Before I stress myself out and pop another vein up here or whatever, you know. Um, anyway, moving on to the next topic is I believe once a person graduates from high school, there should be, and even before then, obviously, there should be some kind of program set up that helps connect businesses with potential workers and really like be hands on with that so that again once again high schoolers can go right into the workforce and start at that point building their wealth. We shouldn't have to force people to go into debt in order to get an entry level job. The notion of that is asinine. So skills building and networking, huge, huge, huge. I speak from experience when I say that workforce development departments are some of the most underutilized in government. So, crime, make MAGA to me means that there's a lot less crime. You're never going to get rid of crime 100%, but the way things are, where people are just treated like they didn't break the law, and you get all these people getting out on probation for violent crimes. The heck's going on? Or they plea bargain down to uh, a lesser offense. I mean, come on, man. If I battered a politician or a judge, which I guess they technically are politicians in a way, but if I battered a judge or a prosecutor or a politician, I would be getting the maximum sentence. But they don't care about you and I. If you or I get punched or kicked or whatever, choked out or worse, it seems like these prosecutors and judges don't care. Probation before judgment. Ha! Next up, housing and land issues. First of all, we can no longer have corporations, aka LLCs, buying up homes, single family homes. What are we doing? That is like somebody put it, It is like trying to outbid the government when it comes to buying a house. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to be able to beat a bunch of people who have a pool of money together. So why are we allowing people to do this? You know, we have such a housing crisis because corporations are buying up houses and then renting them out or selling them at a higher price so they can do these fixer-upper deals. It's not right. It needs to end. More importantly, maybe, why the heck are we allowing foreign entities to buy up farmland and food related companies in the country, you know, on top of the farmland? Like, I think, what was it? Tyson Foods is owned by a company that's in China now. What the heck is going on? You don't think they're going to try to use that and possibly poison the population? Come on, man. I know that's speculation, but it's a possibility. You know? Next up, lower property taxes. Need I say more? Higher property taxes drives up prices for everybody. It's wrong on so many levels, and the county government needs to learn how to tighten their budget instead of demanding more and more money from people. And they can say, oh, we're not raising property taxes. Oh, yes, you are, by raising the property assessments. Get out of here. And oh, we don't control that. Somebody else does. And then when you go to ask who specifically is doing that, they don't want to give you names. Oh, I know who it is. But I'm keeping that one in my back pocket for now. Anyway, labor unions. Major reason we have a lot of issues with people who are working for these really popular companies that are making hand over fist, and their stockholders are making a boatload of money, but the workers are being screwed. You know why you're being screwed? Because y'all don't have a labor union. Labor unions protect you, but I'm going to put an asterisk on this one, because labor unions need to understand that they can't get too greedy, and they should not be protecting incompetent, lazy workers. That is my issue with labor unions. But as a totality of an issue, labor unions are a good thing. They just need to step it back a little bit, and again, address those issues that I just talked about. Next up, patents and copyrights. I'm so sick and tired of people's ideas being stolen, people's inventions being stolen by, again, we'll talk about China, could be Thailand, could be Taiwan, could be, you know, whoever it is. If an American inventor invents something, they should be able to have a monopoly on that idea for a few years, you know, let's say 10, 20 years. And then people can, you know, rip them off. They shouldn't be able to be ripped off within about 2 months, and then their idea that maybe they poured their blood, sweat, and tears into gets stolen by some reverse engineers living over in China. This is ridiculous. So let's make America great again by protecting patents and copyrights. And copyrights, that's my field, because I know how hard it is to put together a nice video, which I'm not going to include this one in that category. But you spend all this time putting a video together, and then somebody can rip it off. You know? It's not right. Mental health and drug addiction. I don't think I need to really elaborate on that, but mental health really isn't taken seriously in this country like it should be. Also, I think a lot of people are, you know, told like to suck it up, and they're just not given help, especially men. Do you understand the male self deletion rate is really bad in this country, especially for older men. But it's going up there for women too. Women, you are not forgotten. You guys are removing yourself from this earth too. Those mental health issues need to be addressed. And as far as drug addiction, again, need I say more? And that includes prescription drugs too. Okay, next up, national debt. My goodness, what's it up to? $35.2 trillion? That's a lot of zeros. And those zeros make us all zeros. It makes our dollar worth less. And, you know, I'm sorry, but until we get to the point where federal employees and contractors are whining and complaining, we are not headed in the right direction. You know, the bottom line is that we need to get this national debt under control. And it's going to take some sacrifice. People are already sacrificing in their households. The government needs to lose their weight and trim down and all that good stuff. Yeah, that's what I said. The national debt is very obese at this point in time. and they need to go on a diet. The people in charge need to go on a diet, a financial diet. Okay, healthcare and food quality. Now, this kind of ties in with mental health and drug addiction, because if you're eating the wrong foods, it's almost like smoking or using narcotic drugs. I'm not going to say it's exactly the same thing, but I can speak from experience. I was not eating the best quality foods. I was not moving my body around. There's no way I could have been speaking at length right now without taking too many breaths. Back in the day, like, I would have been taking a breath every other sentence, and now I can kind of go on and on because my lung capacity is better. I move around a lot more than I used to. But anyway, food quality, though, is a huge concern. There is so much garbage, and then people have to get on insulin because they get diabetes. And look, it's a mess. The United States of America has a big food quality problem, and it is directly tied to healthcare. Healthcare, you got a lot more fat people, you got a lot more people with chronic illnesses. And I'm not saying that's like the only thing that healthcare needs to address, but the other issue with healthcare is a lot of times it, you know these issues go undiagnosed, not because somebody doesn't think there's a problem, but because they're gaslit, or they don't get the proper treatment, or whatever the case may be. And also, we're not even talking about health insurance costs at this point, but the whole thing is a mess. It needs to be reformed. Yet again, Obamacare was a step in the right direction. A lot of people out there have been propagandized to say that it wasn't, but Obamacare was a step in the right direction, but it needs to be further refined, because after all, this is the United States of America. This is supposed to be a first world country. We can cut down our national military budget and address these issues if necessary. Next up is medical freedom. So whether you're talking about a needle poke or whether you're talking about getting an abortion, leave people alone. Let them make their own healthcare decisions, and it's their business, not yours. Just like it's your business and not anybody else's. You shouldn't be forcing people to become parents. And the only reason there's late-term abortions 9 times out of 10 is because there's a health issue with the pregnancy. Very rarely is a woman going to use late-term abortion as birth control. It just doesn't happen that way. Okay, so yeah. Oh, to end that on that note, coercion is not consent. Let me say it again. Coercion is not consent. Next up is the migration issue. I've talked about this a few times, and I'm going to go more in depth because what's happening right here in Baltimore County, as well as in Maryland in total, is we have police officers who are not cooperating with the federal government. It's a big problem, and it needs to be addressed. Now, why does it matter? Well, I believe that the out-of-control migration issue has an impact on housing. It has an impact on food prices. It has an impact on traffic, and the list goes on and on and on. And by the way, that includes pollution. The more people you have in a given area, there's more pollution happening. So let me just throw this page on the ground. Oh man, the pages are stuck together. Come on. If anybody wants to donate money so I can get a teleprompter, that would be very helpful. Okay, last page. Last page. Again, this is what Make America Great Again means to me. We get rid of crony capitalism. I'm getting so sick and tired of these companies winning what I call the government lottery, these no-bid contracts, these little backroom greased palm deals. It needs to stop. It needs to be illuminated so more people know about it. And I'm sorry, but like, if a company has such a bad product or service that people stop buying that bad product or service, they need to go out of business. No more bailouts for bad companies. That includes banks. 2008, I've never forgotten it. Or was it 2007? I think it was 2008. Anyway, makes me sick what happened. Speaking of bailouts, the automakers were bailed out back in 2008 along with the banks. Maybe it was 2009. Either way, a bailout happened, and well, in my opinion, One of the biggest problems car companies have right now is they think that for whatever reason everybody out there can afford a $50,000 SUV, pickup truck, or sometimes even cars. I don't know about you, excuse me, but most of the people I know, they need to buy a car that's under $20,000, under $30,000 at most. $50,000 for a vehicle is absolutely ridiculous. The fact that people have to get auto loans that last for 7 or 9 years, some maybe even 10-year loans, I don't know, but these loan periods are ridiculous and their car payments still high. It needs to stop. It needs to stop. Automakers, I don't know if it's a regulation issue. I don't know what the problem is, but it's almost like they're being forced to make these cars that nobody can afford, and then they sit on the lots. There's cars from the year 2022 still sitting on the lots because the here's the word again, totality of the parts are so darn expensive that or they're greedy. But that's also another issue that needs to be addressed with labor unions. But anyway, moving on to here we go. This is kind of a personal one. Bring back equal time. The equal time rule made politics more fair. There's already an unfair advantage when a candidate is connected to a lot of wealthy people, including the political system, that gives them a bunch of donations. So they already have a big unfair advantage when it comes to that. But if you're going to like give somebody a bunch of time, for example, covering somebody at the Preakness, covering their press conferences when they're putting in a new baseball diamond or whatever the little occasion may be, you have to give equal time to the person running against that person or persons. You can't, even if that person is an incumbent, at that point they're in campaign mode. So it's a big unfair advantage if the local news stations are essentially marketing for their favorite candidate. It's not supposed to be that way. The equal time rule should have never been made unconstitutional, and that's my opinion on it. A respect for civil rights. Elected officials and police officers take an oath of office to respect the Constitution, to defend the Constitution, to honor it. There's a major disrespect going on right now for civil liberties, and the only way we can MAGA is if that changes. If there are consequences for not honoring your oath to the Constitution, that's when the change is going to happen. Not until then. Traffic court reform. I hate it that you can get pulled over and you can get a ticket. And then if you show up in court and you win, you still wasted a day of your work. You had to take off work, so maybe you wasted a half day. The bottom line is the cop is being paid to be there, the judge is being paid to be there, but you're not being paid to be there. That needs to change. And if you catch a cop lying because you have a dash camera, then you should be able to take some money from that cop. Not from the taxpayers, but from the cop who has to pay that out of their own salary. Yes, indeed. Finally, speaking of that, prosecutors and judges should not have prosecutorial discretion. If somebody broke the law, they shouldn't be able to say, well, we like this person, so we're not going to charge them with a crime. No, that's not right. You are not supposed to have that power. But apparently you do. That's not good. Judges can just let these people go scot-free. That shouldn't be that way. Judges and prosecutors need to be held accountable for their actions, and if they are aiding and abetting criminals, they need to be removed from office and banned from ever running for office again. Thank you all for watching. This has been Adam, and thanks for tuning in to Freedom for Maryland.